Welcome to Ombuds Day 2020 and the Alaska State Ombudsman's presentation on our unusual name and important service. I'm Kate Burkhart, Alaska State Ombudsman, and I'm joined today by members of our Ombudsman team to talk about Ombuds Day, our profession, and how we serve Alaskans. Ombuds, also known as ombudsman or ombudsperson, provide a valuable service to help resolve problems, complaints, and conflicts. Our services are confidential, impartial, and independent. Ombuds are uniquely qualified to support change by bringing attention to significant and systemic issues in a safe and confidential way, particularly when issues are controversial and people might not be comfortable coming forward. Ombuds look critically and objectively at complaints and identify unintended consequences of programs and policies that have a negative or disparate effect on constituents. Ombuds feedback helps improve organizations and systems by supporting accountability for operations. The term ombudsman comes from Sweden, and it means citizen's representative. An ombudsman is an objective, independent public servant who helps people solve problems. There are different kinds of ombuds. A classical ombuds has jurisdiction to investigate complaints about government agencies. The Alaska State Ombudsman is a classical ombuds. Organizational ombuds help employees or members resolve complaints or conflicts within the organization. Universities often have organizational ombuds. Some universities, including the University of Alaska Anchorage and the University of Alaska Fairbanks, have student ombudsman programs. Student ombuds are appointed by the Student Government Association and serve as an advocate for complainants. Long-term care ombuds investigate complaints and advocate for residents of nursing homes, assisted living homes, and other long-term care facilities. Whatever type of ombuds it is, it will be an organization that has three professional standards: confidentiality, impartiality, and independence. They will also be defined by three characteristics: informality, credible review process, and fairness. These standards and characteristics unite the ombuds profession and practice and ensure that ombuds provide value to institutions and constituents that they serve. How does the Alaska State Ombudsman serve Alaskans? The Ombudsman investigates complaints about state governmental agencies. Most complaints come from members of the public. However, the Ombudsman can investigate a complaint on her own motion if she has a reasonable basis to believe that there is a problem with the administrative actions of a state agency. The Alaska State Ombudsman is not a citizen advocate. We are a neutral, objective, investigative organization. If after an investigation, a complaint's allegations are supported by the evidence, the Alaska State Ombudsman will recommend a way to resolve the problem and hopefully prevent the problem from rising again. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm Kate Burkhart, and I was appointed the Alaska State Ombudsman in 2017. Before that, I had the opportunity to serve the state of Alaska as the director of 3 advisory boards related to behavioral health for 10 years. I worked briefly at the Alaska State Ombudsman's office before that, and served several years as a public interest attorney with Alaska Legal Services in Nome and the Southeast region. The mission of the Alaska State Ombudsman is set in statute. It is to investigate citizen complaints about the administrative acts of state agencies and to determine appropriate remedies. Our vision for this work is that we will promote fair and efficient government through objective inquiry and well-reasoned recommendations for meaningful, measurable improvement. What that means is that through the objective investigation of complaints, we will help ensure that Alaskan government agencies provide fair and efficient services to the public, and when necessary, ensure that our recommendations are based in research, evidence, and best practices. The work of the Alaska State Ombudsman is guided by 5 core values: objectivity, curiosity, respect, integrity, and public service. This means we approach every complaint without bias or preconception. It means that we are perpetual learners, and we keep our eyes and our ears and our minds open when we are investigating complaints. We treat everyone that comes to our office with respect, and we treat all of the individuals and organizations involved in investigations with respect. We perform our services with integrity, and we adhere to professional best practices. And we understand that the role of the Alaska State Ombudsman is to serve our communities and the people of our state, and we are committed to providing the best public service possible.
Hi there, this is Marie La Rosa, and I am part of the intake team. I'm here to discuss the complaint process that we have in place. The complaint process is divided in 4 different major parts. The first would be the intake. This is when someone contacts us either by phone, email, fax, mail, and through our online portal to file a complaint. Over the next few slides, we'll dive in a bit deeper on what the intake process looks like. The next would be the case review. This is when our team meets weekly to discuss the complaint further, to decide whether to accept or decline it, and to determine the next course of action. Next would be the investigation process. Once a complaint has been assigned to a staff member, the investigation process begins. There could be a variety of ways on how an investigation is done. Finally, when the investigation is complete, the Ombudsman offers well-reasoned recommendations for the agencies to resolve the complaints that were justified. Our intake team is composed of 3 people, and we handle all incoming complaints. Intake is centralized in Anchorage to ensure consistency and responsiveness. In 2019 alone, the Ombudsman received a total of 2,058 requests for assistance. The intake team provides information and referrals to people with complaints outside our jurisdiction. These are generally your non-state government agencies. People calling with a complaint are referred to the agency's grievance process, if the agency has one, or to an agency supervisor first. Then we encourage them to call us back if they are not satisfied with the agency's response or if they're not receiving any response at all. Exceptions to this policy can be made for emergency situations or when the person has a disability or limitation that prevents them from effectively using the grievance process. If the person's complaint is A, jurisdictional, and B, ripe for review, it is reviewed by the full staff during weekly complaint review meetings.
Hi, this is Richard Radford, part of our intake team along with Marie. As you can see from this chart, the majority of complaints we received in 2019 were regarding state of Alaska agencies. Most of the complaints were about departments and government programs that have the biggest direct impact on the lives of Alaskans, including the Department of Health and Social Services, the Department of Corrections, and the Department of Administration. The rest of the complaints we received in 2019 involved entities outside of our jurisdiction, including private businesses and federal, municipal, and tribal organizations. As Marie mentioned, for these we provide appropriate referrals to complainants to have their complaints addressed. For instance, a complaint about a private business might be referred to the Department of Law's Consumer Protection Unit, or a complaint about an issue with the city of Anchorage might be referred to the Anchorage Municipal Ombudsman. For a more detailed breakdown of the complaints our office received, please refer to our 2019 annual report, which can be located on our website. Generally, the intake team is able to identify the root of the complainant's problem and resolve it quickly with a phone call or email to the agency. Complaints that are not easily determined and resolved are reviewed by the full staff each week. Investigators and the intake team discuss the facts alleged, whether it presents evidence of a pattern or systemic problem, and whether resolution is possible. Once this threshold has been met, an investigator or team of investigators will accept the complaint for more in-depth review and investigation.
Hello, this is Jennifer Christensen. I'm an investigator with the Ombudsman's Office. I'll be discussing how our office investigates complaints. The Ombudsman is objective. We look at each complaint without bias or preconception, though we also look at individual complaints in the context of past investigations and larger systemic issues. An investigation typically includes extensive review of documentation from the complainant, agency records, case files, court files and records, interviews of interested parties, and other information. The Ombudsman can subpoena information and depose witnesses when necessary. Some investigations can be completed in a matter of days, while others can take months. The Ombudsman is committed to efficiently and effectively investigating complaints. This slide helps to provide an overview of how our office evaluates the complaints that we receive. When we investigate a complaint, we're trying to determine if the alleged action by the state agency falls underneath one of these 13 categories. For example, we may be taking a look at an allegation that a state agency has acted contrary to law. When evaluating the complaints and the allegations that we've received, the evidentiary standard that our office uses for evaluating all complaints is preponderance of the evidence standard. This basically means that it's more likely than not that something happened or is true. The Ombudsman receives complaints about all Alaska state agencies. The majority of complaints we receive are about departments and government programs that have the most direct impact on the lives of Alaskans. Complaints about the Departments of Health and Social Services, Corrections, and Administration made up 68% of all complaints we received in 2019. Similarly, complaints about the Department of Commerce, Community and Economic Development were primarily about professional licensing and regulatory actions by the state agency. Our office focuses on ensuring that state government serves citizens fairly, effectively, and efficiently. We offer well-reasoned recommendations for resolving complaints found to be justified and make meaningful, measurable improvement in agency operations. Often the remedy sought by the person complaining about the state agency is not within the power of the Ombudsman to recommend or the agency to give. However, we do seek to find acceptable solutions to complaints whenever possible. The complaints that we investigate are resolved in a variety of ways. The agency is determined to have acted according to law, policy, and reasonable practice. A resolution is possible by providing the person with information about their situation, encouraging the agency to respond to the person, or other brief assistance. The investigator works with the agency to resolve a complex or systemic problem without the need for a formal report and recommendations, or the Ombudsman issues a formal report and recommendations for addressing justified complaints. Some investigations can be completed in a matter of days. More complex or systemic complaints can take months. We closed 1,365 complaints in 2019. Of these, 351 were resolved informally, with an average time open of 16 days.
As Jennifer explained, our goal is to resolve complaints as quickly and efficiently as possible. This means most complaints are resolved informally and confidentially. A small number of our investigations result in a public report. Examples include a report about a change in placement in foster care, or a complaint about the aquatic farm lease requirements for insurance. That program is managed by the Division of Mining, Land, and Water. You can see these and other public reports about our investigations at our website on the slide below. Thank you so much for joining us on Ombuds Day to learn more about our profession and how the Alaska State Ombudsman serves Alaskans. For more information about our office, how to make a complaint, how our investigations are conducted, community resources, or our case summaries, please visit our website at ombud.alaska.gov. You can also call us at 907-269-5290. We appreciate your time and the opportunity to share more about our work. Thank you.